Question 6 says, a mobile phone has a touchscreen. The screen is represented by a grid divided into 800 rows and 1280 columns. The grid is represented by a 2D array screen of type integer. An array element will be set to 0 unless the user touches that part of the screen. Many array elements will be set to 1 by a single touch of a finger or stylus. The following diagram shows a simplified touchscreen. The dark line represents a touch on the screen, and all grid elements that are not wholly or partly inside the outline will be set to 1. These elements are shaded. The element shaded in black represents the center point of the touch. Okay, a program is needed to find the coordinates, row and column of the center point. The center point on the diagram is row 6, column 11. We can assume that the user may only touch one area at a time. Also, the screen rotation does not affect the touchscreen. Programs decide to use global variables center row and center column as coordinates, coordinate values for the center point. Programs also started to define modules as follows. So the FirstRowSet, searches for the first row that has an array element set to 1. It returns the index of that row, starting from 1, and returns -1 if there are no elements set to 1. And then last row set just gets the last row, first column, last column. So if we just look at this, for example, FirstRowSet, in that case, that's going to return 3, because row 1 has nothing, row 2 has nothing, row 3, that's going to be set. And then last row set, that's going to be this one, which I guess is that 9. So we wait, 6, 7, 8, 9. And likewise, first column, that's going to be whatever this is, I think 7. Last column, whatever this is. Right, so here then, we just want to write efficient pseudocode for the module FirstRowSet. And if you look at this, basically the only way we can do this is just, looping through every single cell in the row. Now, the logical way is just going left to right. Although if you wanted, you could also go right to left, that would also be fine. But I think here, let's just go, top to bottom and left to right. So if we go here, and as always again, I've just got this starter code which just creates something simple like this. And here I've also added this extra draw screen just so we can visualize it. It makes it kind of easier to test. Although one thing, I did actually reduce this to 20 by 15, rather than 1200 by 800, just so we can visualize it. Also, it's just going to be a lot more efficient, because doing processing on over 1 million pixels, that's going to be extremely slow. So as always, of course, if you want this, go to the exam questions, find the year, find the question, and then just open this. So to declare this function, let's just go function, then this will be FirstRowSet, and then what we can do, this will, let's just go returns integer. Now here then we just need to do linear search, and if it's the real exam question, we would want to loop, sort of from 1, up until 800, because that's how many rows. But in our example, let's just write this. In our example, I think it's only going to be 15. We've got 15 rows, and I have actually stored that in a constant, which is going to be, I guess, screen height. And then what we can do, let's go for, this will be column, and this will be 1 until screen width. And then, here we just need to check that if the cell is set to 1. So here, let's just go if screen. This is going to be, this is going to be, row column, and if this equals 1, then what we can do, we just want to return the row. Then let's just go end if, let's go next column, then let's go next row, and I think like it said, if it doesn't find the row, if it doesn't find a row that has anything set, then we just go -1. So let's just go end function, and I'm just going to delete this output, and instead what we'll do, let's output the FirstRowSet, and if we look at the code here, this should return row 3. So let's try and run this, and this returns row 3. Now, for example, let's just comment these. Of course, now it should return row 6. Hang on. And this is, this seems to be working. Now, of course, let's say if we also comment these, right, it should just return -1. Alright, so yeah, now then let's move on to part B. Here we need to implement this module GetCentre. This will calculate the coordinates of the center point using the four modules, well, first row, first column, last column, and it assigns values to center row and center column, which, if you remember, these were global variables, and it sets the center row to -1 if no screen touch is detected. Okay, so yeah, let's just go ahead and start writing this. Right, so let's go, well, procedure, because this won't return anything, and this will just be GetCentre. Yeah, also it takes no parameters. So let's declare variables, and we can have 4, right, just for, well, first row, yeah, etc. Right, so let's go first row, first column, and last column. Right, these should all be integers. Now, then we're just going to assign these. So let's go first row, and this will just be FirstRowSet. Then, well, maybe let's go last row. So yeah, let's get both of the rows. Right, then let's go first column. Right, and then of course let's go last column. Okay, now if we look at the example here, basically the way we can get, the row, or yeah, the center row is just, well, the first row, which here is row 3, plus, yeah, is this what, row 7? Yeah, I think row 7. And so just plus them together, then divide them by 2. Right, so 3 plus 7 divided by 2, yeah, that's going to be 5. Likewise for the column, plus the start and the end, right, divide them by 2. Now, we also have to think, we want to set the center row to -1 if no screen touch is detected. Now, let's say if this is all black, right, then that means that all of these will be -1. So we don't have to check, if first row is -1 or last row is -1, right, or first column or last column. We only need to check one of them, because again, if one of them is -1, well, all of them will be -1. So let's just go if first row equals -1. Right, then what we do is we set the center row, set the center row to -1. Right, but then if we have the else here, well, this means it's kind of not empty, right, someone did touch it. And then what we want to do, the center row, that is going to be, right, so that's the first row and then plus the last row. Right, then we just, well, divide this by 2. Likewise, the center column, just the same thing. Yeah, so first column plus last column, right, then just divide it by 2. And yeah, I think that's all we need to do. Right, so let's just go end procedure. And right, let's just go here, we'll just call it. So let's go call GetCentre. And then let's just output. So this will be center row. And yeah, then let's just go center column. Right, so if we look at this, well, what we're expecting is the center row should be 5. And the center column, well, if we count, right, 3. And then yes. Okay, hang on. Right, and then 6. Okay, so it should be 5 and 6. Let's try. Yeah, alright, so this seems to work. Now, if, for example, we just get rid of all of these, right, this should say -1. Yeah, -1. And note how, this center column says 0, since we actually don't need to update it. Right, it says we only need to set the center row to -1. Alright guys, so again, hopefully this makes sense, and well, if it does, hopefully see you in the next video.